With the 2023 NFL Draft now in the books, the Philadelphia Eagles move on to undrafted free agency. So today, I want to give you my grade on the Eagles draft, and I also want to talk about some of these guys that the Eagles have gone ahead and picked up in the undrafted process. Right? I guess it's free agency, that's what we can call it. And lastly, I do want to talk about a quarterback that got drafted and spoke about Jalen Hurts and the influence he has had on him. So let's talk about it.
You want Philly food? Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast. So today, I want to talk about the draft picks. I want to talk about the undrafted free agency class, and I also want to talk about one of the QBs that went ahead and got drafted and spoke about Jalen Hurts in the interviews. Now, before we get into that, be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, join the family. We are on the road to 10K, and I would love for you guys to join that ride. So let's hop right into it. I want to start with our draft. Obviously, the Eagles went in there with, I believe, 6 picks, ended the night with 7. There was more picks to be had, but we traded a couple of those picks to get into the draft next year. I believe we got a future 5th next year, which is pretty dope. That's pretty awesome. And we were also able to get some really good players for this team. Obviously, round 1 is something everybody's going to be talking about for a while, and I think that it's fair that they're going to be doing that. The Eagles went ahead and took 2 top 15 players, depending on where you had Nolan Smith. There was a lot of people thinking he would go in the top 10. A lot of people thinking he could be the Philadelphia Eagles selection at number 10. And a lot of people would have been happy about that. We're able to go ahead and get him at number 30. Jalen Carter, I mean, is there really much to say about Jalen Carter? I think everybody's very, very ecstatic about having Jalen Carter on this team. Not many people thought it would even be possible. There was a lot of, speculation he would go top 5, maybe right before the Eagles really got an opportunity. He slides, and the Eagles are able to move up to 9 and grab the future perennial all-star. I think he's going to be a perennial Pro Bowler, a perennial all-pro player. Like, I think that we really got us a nasty dude. It reminds me of when Fletcher Cox had a nice little fall in his draft class, and we were able to pick him up in the teens, and look what he's been able to be for us. And there was a lot of similar statements said about Fletcher Cox. People were saying he was a little immature. He got kicked off of his college team. So there were some concerns there. We'll see what happens with Jalen Carter. I'm ecstatic about it. I think it's going to be great for us. In the second round, we're able to go get Tyler Steen from Alabama, the offensive lineman. Now, a lot of people have been talking about this and what is he going to be. There is an immediate possibility that he is going to be a guard for us. He has played guard a lot. He played tackle, last year, because he was the best offensive lineman on that team. It really is what it is. So they put him at the most important spot. Tyler is a big guy, a guy that I think that Jeff Stoutland is going to be able to get the best out of. And like I said, there's a real possibility that he goes in there and starts at guard right away. And I know a lot of people will probably be like, well, what happens to Cam Jurgens? Cam Jurgens sits for another year and he just becomes a utility player. Maybe we take a little bit more time, teach him the guard spot, teach him the tackle spot, and maybe we can move him around if something is to happen, God forbid, to one of our players. If not, then Tyler Steen is that guy that you can say if somebody goes down at the tackle spot or the guard spot, we can go ahead and throw him in. So I love this pick. Not a guy that was really on my radar. I'm going to be 100% honest. But after looking back at it and after looking at the player, it was an awesome pick, and it's right up the Eagles' alley. This is the type of things that they like to do. Now, in round 3, this was honestly kind of surprising. Personally, I didn't know if we would go safety. I thought there was like 4 or 5 guys. I said this, a couple times. I thought there was 5 guys that I really liked in this draft class as far as safeties go. Some of them being Jair Brown, Brian Branch, obviously, and a couple of others. Antonio Johnson's a guy that comes to my mind. But Sidney Brown is one of those dudes as well. Now, we did meet with his brother. We met with both of them. We met with him and his brother. His brother Chase was a running back for the same team. But being able to get, a safety of the caliber of Sidney Brown. Sidney Brown to me was, I think, maybe 3 as far as it goes with the safety class, maybe 3, maybe 4, depending on how you feel about some of these guys. And, to be able to get him in the 3rd round, he's a guy that can possibly be the best safety on your roster right now. There's a very bright future. And you look at Terrell Edmonds, you look at Reed Blankenship, you look at these guys, and obviously you want to get them some reps. You want to see what they're able to do. Even old boy from the Buccaneers that we got. You want to see what these kids can do. But at the same token, in the same breath, if you're able to add a top-tier talent like I believe a Sidney Brown is, you go ahead and do that. You go go ahead and do that. Now, if round 3 and round 4 were flipped, I probably would still be ecstatic about it. I think that it would still be a steal, but we went ahead and got Kelee Ringo in the 4th round. This was a perfect spot for him. I saw a lot of people saying that, he was going to be a first rounder, maybe late first round. I had a real inkling that would not be happening. The kid is very, very young, 20 years old. He turns 21, I think, in June sometime. So he's very, very young, right? He's got nothing but time in front of him, and he's very raw. He's not necessarily a shutdown corner yet. He has the athleticism, and he has the tools to go ahead and be that. He has the athleticism and tools to become a good safety in this league. So it'll be very, very interesting to see how the Eagles want to use him. I know, Georgia boys, they couldn't keep to themselves. They had to go do it. But I love Kelee Ringo, especially at the 4th round. Like I said, if we went ahead and took him in the 3rd, I wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't be sitting here mad. But I think the way that this fell was just perfect, right? And then you look at 6 and 7. We'll kind of lump those together. We'll start with 7, Moro Ajomo, excuse me. This kid's going to be interesting. I've seen a lot. I'm going to hold off my thoughts on him till I talk to Fran Duffy, because Fran Duffy seems to know a lot about this kid, and he seems excited about him, so I want to see why. But yeah, so we're gonna hold off on that. Let me know what you guys know about him, because that's a guy I definitely got to do a little bit more research on. And then Tanner McKee. I mean, look, when this happened, my girl asked me, why are we going to get a quarterback? And at this point in the draft, I think it's just to develop somebody. The Eagles obviously have Marcus Mariota. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is the QB1. So you have your starter, you have your backup. But beyond this year, we know Marcus Mariota is only on 1-year deal. Beyond this year, what are you going to be doing at the position? We know that the Eagles like to stay cheap at number of positions, right? Backup quarterback being one of them. So we got Marcus Mariota on a cheap deal this year. Don't think that will carry over into next year. So Tanner's somebody that either A, you develop into a backup for you guys, or B, down the road, maybe you can trade him for a better pick, better asset, and you just kind of flip that player. And I'm not mad at that. I'm really not mad at that. I know a lot of people were kind of like, what the heck? But I think it's cool. I'm down with it. I'm down with it. So also, I wanted to talk about these undrafted free agents. So getting into these undrafted free agents, there's a lot of guys that I think are very good that went undrafted. And the Eagles were able to get one of the top guys, in my opinion, of this undrafted free agency. And honestly, one of the top special teamers as well. We'll get into the list. I'll start with the rookie minicamp invites. Shout out to the Birds, thebirds.blog. Go check them out. They have a full list of all of the undrafted rookies that we signed, and a great explanation for most of the players. I'm not going to go ahead and read the explanation, but I'm going to go over the players. Some of these guys, I have no idea who they are, and it's going to be fun over the next couple of weeks to kind of figure out what they can do for this team. But shout out to the Birds for putting this list together. So we got a linebacker, Deshaun White, out of Oklahoma. We got Jazeer Cox, a safety, out of West Virginia. Tua Tuawa, maybe, running back, out of Nevada. And then we have TJ Cole out of Oshita Baptist. So those are all of our rookie camp invites. So those guys didn't necessarily get signed, but they got invited to come to the rookie camp and go ahead and try and make the team. So now the guys that actually got signed, Ben Van Summeren, linebacker, Michigan State. Who else we got? We got Jordan Hasselwood, wide receiver from Arkansas. We got Mekhi Gardner, which I love this, for a cornerback from LSU. Honestly, there was a lot of people that I didn't realize went undrafted. Mekhi Gardner, I'm not going to sit here and be like, I had him as a second round, first round. He was probably like a 6th, 7th round guy, but I thought he was going to get picked. I wouldn't have been surprised if he went in the 5th. I think that the Eagles are able to get a guy like Mekhi Gardner is a huge addition. I mean, he's big. He's a long corner, a lengthy, kind of lean guy. So I like this guy a lot. Brady Russell, tight end out of Colorado. Honestly, this is a very interesting one as well. I told you guys that the Eagles were going to leave this weekend with a tight end. There was just so many guys in this draft class that I thought were very good tight ends. Brady Russell, I'm not going to say that, he's one of the best tight ends in this thing, but he's good. He is good. You know what I'm saying? He can catch the ball. He's not really going to get much separation. He's a decent blocker. Like, he's decent at everything. So I think he's an interesting guy. He'll definitely fight, guys like Jack Stahl, Grant Calcaterra for a position. Will he make it? I don't know. We'll see what happens. It is what it is. They're undrafted free agents. Now, this is probably the best one. Eli Ricks out of Alabama. I did a whole video about 5 cornerbacks not named Kelee Ringo, and Eli Ricks was in that. I thought Eli Ricks would go maybe mid-day 2, maybe early day 3. Like, I did not think he would still be here. I know that when you look at the game, he didn't have the best of years, you know what I'm saying, when he was in college. But last year, he didn't give up a touchdown. He is a little grabsy. He is a little physical. There's definitely some technique stuff that he has to get, he has to get it right. But he's long. Again, he's lengthy. I think he's like 6'1", if I'm not mistaken. He's not the biggest guy, but he's a very good player. Like, he's a very good player. You're coming out of Alabama. There's competition all over in the SEC. So I like this kid a lot. Maybe I'm missing something, and I'm definitely going to go back on Eli Ricks' tape and see why he slid. But this, I think, was a great pickup in the undrafted free agency. I think you can't really get much better than getting a guy like that. Now, this is a guy I was telling you about in special teams, Ty Zenter. He's actually also called Legatron. I love it. Now, I don't know how good nicknames work for the Eagles, because remember we had like Murder Leg or whatever his name is, and he was absolute garbage. I like Sipos, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Sipos. We've had him on the show. I know his family follows me on Twitter, so I no negative things to say about him. I think that he's a great player. I think that we saw, and not to be biased, but we saw the difference when he wasn't in. I think that we all saw the bad punt in the Super Bowl and kind of pin that to his legacy. But if you really look at the season, he was getting better. Unfortunately, he got hurt. So, we'll see what happens there. But Ty had a 77-yard punt in college. I mean, that's pretty impressive. It'll be interesting to see what he does for us. Another guy that I really like is Trevor Reed out of Louisville, just a freaky athletic guy. That's actually the first word. I was trying not to read it, but that's exactly the first words he said. He said Trevor Reed is a freakishly athletic offensive tackle. I mean, he is. He's huge. I think he's like 6'6", 6'5", something like that. Can get on the edge. He can move around, and I really like this guy. This is somebody I could see possibly moving on inside as well. Another guy, Stoutland University. You got a good coach. You got a good teacher, and I think he'll be a good student. So I like him a lot. And then we got Joseph Nagata, who is actually one of the highest paid undrafted free agents, wide receiver out of Clemson. The Eagles do this all the time. The Eagles always pick one guy that they pay way too much to be on our practice squad. We did it last year with Mario Goodrich, I think it was. And this year it's a wide receiver, Joseph Nagata. 6'3". I mean, he's good. He's a big guy. He's got good hands. I haven't watched enough tape to really sit here and tell you I love or hate him. But what I have seen, he looks decent. He looks all right. I mean, not flashy. Like I said, he knows how to use his body, has good hands. It's an interesting pickup. Not really sure why he's the highest paid guy, but he is. Another invite, and this is the last guy on here, is Chim Okafor, offensive tackle out of Benedictine. Where do they come up with these names? It is what it is. But don't know much about him. Like I said, if you guys want to read on a couple of these guys, he has a very good description about who these players are. Shout out to thebirds.blog. I will leave the link down in the description if you guys want to read the rest of it. But I just wanted to go over that. I think that the Eagles not only won the draft, but I think that they won undrafted free agency. I mean, being able to get a punter that can possibly start for you this year, a cornerback in Eli Ricks that could possibly be the future for you, Kai Gardner could be a future guy for you. Some of these offensive linemen that you got could be realistic pieces for this team right now. And even you look at everybody. You look at the totality of what we got. Brady Russell, I like that. Joseph Nagata, I like that. You're bringing competition to all of your positions. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's your starters. You need competition, and I like this. I really do. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is not our quarterback. Technically, it is our quarterback, but technically it's not. So I want to talk about Anthony Richardson. I was able to ask him a couple questions. If you follow me on Twitter, you probably saw this already, but I was able to just ask him about Jalen Hurts and what, watching him play, and obviously now he's playing for Shane Steichen, how he felt he could fit into that, and if he would ever reach out to him. So I like Anthony Richardson. Obviously, he's not an Eagle, so it really doesn't matter. I'm not going to go too deep into him, but he seemed like an amazing kid, and I wanted you guys to see this. I thought it was pretty cool to hear, people talking big about our quarterback. So I'm going to end the video with that. So check out the clip. But other than that, y'all know what it is. It is Fly Goes Fly. And we are out here. Watch the clip. Peace! Have you seen what Shane Steichen has done with a mobile quarterback like a Jalen Hurts? Have you seen that and kind of seen what you may be able to do in his type of offense going forward?
Oh, definitely. Whenever I see a mobile QB playing, I turn the TV on so I can watch it. So I was definitely watching Jalen Hurts a lot last year. I didn't know Coach Steichen was the one orchestrating all that until like after he got hired. I'm like, okay, if there's a possibility I go there, you can make something work. And he's been preaching that to me, so I'm definitely ready to see it. I'm ready to control the offense.
Would you ever reach out to Jalen Hurts to kind of maybe get some advice on how to shake off some of that doubt that he had to face?
I talked to him before when I was in high school. That was a while ago, but now I definitely want to, get some advice from him, get some advice from all the other NFL QBs, just so I can help myself and help myself in this game.
Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.